Hello, and thank you for tuning into Amwell's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee's podcast series, DEI Dialogues. These conversations will spotlight the voices of our committee and their distinct experiences as we spend this year together and celebrate various U.S. Heritage Months and celebrations. I'd like to introduce our guest, Stephen McNeil. Stephen, thanks so much for joining this special second episode of the series. And for those who don't know you yet, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
No, thank you, Parul. Well, as she said, my name is Stephen McNeil. Been with the organization now for a combination of 3 years, originally coming over from Silver Cloud. My role here in the organization is the VP of Sales for our behavioral health brand, specifically responsible for our payer, employer, and higher ed sales efforts. So very happy to be here today. Been in software and technology sales for 20 plus years. So excited to be contributing here at Amwell.
So, Stephen, last episode, I had the chance to share some stigmas and stories around mental health in the Black community as a child. In my experience, mental health was not being discussed. Could you share with us your story and experience with mental health?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I've had a number of similar experiences, given that we have some similarities in cultural background. Growing up, mental health was not discussed. Essentially, if you were struggling, you were told just to, keep it to yourself and, try harder and chin up and, just some of those cliches I'm sure we've all heard over and over again. So, when I found the opportunity here at Silver Cloud, here at this stage of my career, I was very excited to actually truly make a difference, especially as I understood it, not being a mental health clinician myself, the impact that could be made with the programs that Amwell offers really presents itself with an exciting opportunity, not only broadly, but with our underserved communities and our African American communities.
Looking to the future, how do you think telehealth will benefit the Black community?
I think it will help really bring down the barriers and the stigmas that exist, being able to effectively seek mental health care at a time that's convenient for you, not worried about how you're being viewed or seen, having that level of confidentiality, but yet having the same access to resources, I think is going to make a huge difference in the community. And, we're consistently evolving. The views and how we broadly view mental health continues to evolve. And so now to provide the solutions that are there and ready is really huge.
Stephen, that's so helpful to hear. And would love to hear if there were any other inspirations that drove you into a career in technology and sales. And then how did you end up here at Amwell?
Well, my father, I would say, is my greatest inspiration, but I would actually say beyond that, my family. I'm very fortunate to come from an African American heritage where we're fourth, fifth generation college educated, and have typically been over the generations leaders in our respective communities. I have a lot of teachers and preachers in my background, but my dad, being my greatest inspiration, was a technologist himself. He had both engineering degrees, master's in computer science, and I tended to pattern a lot of my career off of his successes and building upon those.
Black History Month is celebrated annually in February in the US, Canada, and UK, and has been observed for 53 years to celebrate the historical achievements of African Americans. We also highlight the overcoming adversity and paying tribute to many key African American figures. As a Black man, what does Black History Month means to you?
Well, for me, it's an opportunity to celebrate those that have come before me and have enabled me to be able to achieve the successes that I have, uh, that I've achieved. I know it hasn't happened in a vacuum if those hadn't made sacrifices before me. So I like to celebrate that. I like to take the time to remind myself, watch, maybe read literature, watch movies that maybe portray aspects of history, and then just have conversations within my community like I'm doing right now. Again, to pay that respect and that homage to those that came before and to hopefully pay it forward.
What advice or tip would you tell a Black student that's interested in telehealth?
Look, as an African American student, opportunities are unlimited. I feel confident in saying that there aren't any ceilings anymore. It's really going to be up to you to, go after what you want to accomplish and what you want to achieve for yourself in life. There are mentors out there. I encourage, young people to get mentors. There are individuals along my career which helped me get to the next level. And I will always remember those individuals and the help that they provided. And then study the past because it does help shape your future. So that's really critical in terms of really, making it through those stages in life.
Now, Stephen, keep us honest. But from where Perul and I sit in the commercial organization, you are one of the only few people of color in our leadership team. Can you tell us what it's like being in that room? Have you ever faced any challenges to your career as a minority in technology or any microaggressions? And how did that play out?
Yeah, I've been very fortunate. I've had individuals that really have mentored me and provided that encouragement and support when I needed it throughout my career. Look, yeah, I can't ignore the fact that I am a minority within my industry. I think that's more industry wide. I think people of color are playing catch up, so to speak, as is just kind of the nature of our history and kind of where we've come from. But I'm excited to see that diversity is getting better. I'm gradually starting to see more people of color in management roles. I'm gradually starting to see more women or other diverse groups in places of management within organizations I joined. So, look, I'm looking forward to what the coming decades have to offer. I'm excited to see my brother, for example. He's in management, managing a team of engineers in the computer science area. My dad was a manager. There are others that I keep in touch with today that are moving up and having that opportunity to lead within their respective organizations, not just in technology, but in healthcare overall. So there's definitely a trend up, and that's what I celebrate and do all I can to be a part of keeping that trend going in the right direction.
So switching gears here a little, Stephen, and looking outside of Amwell, our workplace, and what you just shared here, we're definitely, as we're looking at, how the past shapes the future, we're grappling with such polarizing views on practically everything, whether it's policy, education, history, values. And I do want to address that how slavery and racism's role really shaped American society. What do you think about this, and how does this show up at work?
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. I mean, we see it in all facets of life, politics, an obvious area, news reporting. I mean, I could go down a list of 5 or 10 things where we see that polarization occurring. I think really the key for us is communication, not being afraid to have a conversation, to listen to opposing views, to learn, to listen, to grow collectively. That's how we continue to progress as a society. There are always going to be individuals with different opinions. That, by definition, is what diversity is about. Individuals coming from different backgrounds, but the key is to come together and make something stronger together. And I think that's my general view of things. That's how I operate both in my personal life as well as in the workplace. It's just how do we bring together diverse views to achieve a greater goal?
I like that, Stephen. And to close, we would like to ask this question to all of our special guests. What is a piece of media that you think portrays an element of your unique experience as a Black American?
Oh, thank you. And, there are many pieces of media that have inspired me over time. I mean, I think if you look at great leaders before us, like Martin Luther King, who inspired really a generation to reach higher and to, overcome adversity. And then, if I look at my philosophies in life, kind of built upon that, which in essence, look, acknowledge who's come before me and make sure that I'm also paying it forward to that next generation that's also looking to kind of make that next leap forward, whether it be more broadly or maybe it just be on behalf of, the culture that they represent. One of the interesting reads, though, that I had more recently really speaks to specifically to healthcare when you look around cultural diversity and healthcare and how we can be more sensitive to that and how we're treating our patients. There was a book I read. It was called The Spirit Catches You and You Fall Down. Really a great read about how someone in an Asian culture, in fact, struggle to be understood and to receive that right level of care with a backdrop of their religious beliefs and cultural beliefs. Look, we truly are a collective, and it's really important that we build each other up. And as a result of that, we'll just be more successful and really achieve what we want to achieve.
Thanks, Stephen. I like how you mentioned The Spirit Catches You and You Fall Down is an Asian book, but we all, as minorities, can experience those things in the book.
Yeah, no, that's correct. It's been a pleasure talking with you today. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen. Thanks, Noah. This was just such an insight of your life, and we really appreciate you sharing your voice. Both of your perspectives in these podcast episodes have really reminded me of a message that I go back to in this work that we do in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it's by this novelist named Chimamanda Adichie, and she shares that in finding her own authentic cultural voice, she warns her audience that if we only hear a single story about another person or country, we risk a critical misunderstanding. Our lives, our cultures are composed of many overlapping stories, and I hope we continue listening to many more perspectives. And as you said, we are a collective, so hopefully this is one of many voices we get to hear from throughout the year. So thank you again, and bye.